Namo tassa bhagavata arahat. Samma sambadasa. Apankang thane meke, duthiang ye hechiu thakaika etanyai medhavi thanganyada pannakanti. 1. Apannaka Jataka. Sakya Kula Tilka, Pardukha, suffering, compassion, treasure, helpless, Samanthabhadra, Tiloguru Samyak Sambuduraja is the treasurer of Sarmenda, a kalp called Sarmenda, under 100,000 kalps of this Bhadra kalp. Medicine. Sarankaraya was born immediately after the three Buddhas, who gave birth to the three worlds. Kota Bhikshu Sangha, all the sages who have assigned him to follow the path of cultivation. At the same time, we great Bodhi beings called Sumedha who live ascetics saw the men who built and prepared this road and asked why this road should be decorated. Then the two men gave the deer an area of land with water. Until the territory was prepared and built, there were thousands of monks accompanied by that sage named Deepankara. Seeing that sage, the Sumedha ascetics, in the darkness of the mud embryo, went to seek Buddhahood. What was the great man thinking of the ascetics? Monks, see the thoughts that I thought with my eyes. Commentary Patul Deva said that these Purushayan will be Buddhas named Gautam after 100,000 years. Even though those Sumedha ascetics had all the reasons to see Nirvana just by hearing a few verses, apart from that they worshipped the world and from then on Dasa Paramita is Dasa Upa Paramita. Dasa Paramatha Paramita is the Samatriyangshat Paramita Dhammas and Adanga sacrifices, life sacrifices etc. Bird 50 born board. With the 5 great sacrifices and the commentaries received from the recent Buddha Kondanya Dinevisi Buddha, from Vesantaratma Bhava 7 times Mahapolo Gugura Mahadan was born from it in Chutawa to Zita Bhava, and for a long time their 10,000 rains were invited by divine Brahmins. Northern Sala with a full moon he was born from the mother's womb after auspiciousness in the womb, and after 1 months past, reigned for 31 years, saw 3 omens, saw the Mahanogais seen in the 4th season of Kalakiri, fell in love in the ancient kingdom, rode on the horse Kathaka that night, accompanied by 10,000 divine Brahmans, a coma. At Gangthera, he cut his face and threw it into the sky. He was a priest of Ashta Pariskara Dhara, given by the great Brahma, and performed a series of difficult deeds. At the beginning of Nigrodha, Ajapala buried the Kashira Pyasa given by the Sujatas. He spent the day in the Salveena, and in the evening he was coming to Jaya Sri Mahabodhi. On the way, a monk named Sotaya he asked me to take the 8 grasses that were given to me in Bomalhi. Salah escaped and defeated Tudu's Ryan Vajrasanarudha and killed all the defilements. In the morning, the Buddha spent 7 weeks in the vicinity of Bodhidharma. In the 8th week, at the invitation of Mahabrahma, he gave a sermon to many divine Brahmins led by Paswaga Mahanu in the temple of Isipathana in Varanasi. Too many, just as the Vanya people live in the ocean of samsara until the end of the great nirvana of the beings, and from then on, the divine Brahma speaks for the sake of human beings and monks and nuns, and to various scriptures and various viewpoints and various stories, and to remove the problems of this world. To show the 505 Jatak sermons from the goat, the Jatak story written by Samamli Jatak near without mistake, written by the goat at the invitation of Minister Satpurusha named Parakrama and with the efforts of Minister Virasinghe Pratirja, should be listened to with open ears by the 7 Purusha people. However, the blessed King Tiloguru Samyak Sambudhu used to pass the days in a particular meditation among the frequent meditations of the divine Brahma Arya Aryapatha in the Mahavihara of Jetavana. He preached this Apannaka Jataka Dharma sermon to 500 Tirthaka disciples who were friends of Anepidu Mahasita. One day, Anepidu Mahasita called 500 of his friends and disciples of Tirthaka and brought a lot of incense, flowers, lambs, ghee, sugarcane, robes, etc. Went to Jetavana, worshipped Lord Buddha and offered fragrant flowers, etc., medicines, ghee, etc. Presented to the Sadhagaya Napachdhana Puratho etc. He removed the dead bugs that had spread and found one and the same soil. Those other Tirthaka disciples worshipped the Buddha and looked at the Buddha's lush mouth like a crescent moon in the 32 great male characteristics Abhityanu Vanyajana Kayama Prabha Ketu Malalinkara seated in the Buddha's body and the couple who came out from the Buddha's body with the thick radiance of the Buddha. At that time, the Buddha appeared to them from a stone rock like a lion king, Abhit Kesara, like a lion king, like a great rain during the Mesa period, and like a celestial raindrop. Apannaka Jataka. Just like the weavers of Ruvan Damak, he delivered the Dharma sermon, which was skillful and beautiful, and was composed of various skillful and beautiful Brahmasavas. Those Tirthaka disciples heard the Buddha's Dharma with happy hearts, stood up and worshipped the 10 powerful Buddha and left the Taidaka Buddha. Since then, when he eats food, Anepidu Mahasita takes fragrant flowers and goes to the temple to listen to sermons. Dandeti they protect the rights and live in peace. After that, the Buddha moved from Savat to Rajagaha. At that time, those Tirthaka disciples left the refuge of the Buddha in Rajagaha city and took the refuge of other Tirthakas and settled in the original refuge of their own. Lord Buddha also left for 7 or 8 months and returned to Jetavana. Then Mahasitanath called them again and went near the Buddha and offered them fragrant flowers and bowed down to the Buddha. Those Tirthaka disciples also bowed down to the Buddha. At that time, Anepidu Mahasita informed the Buddha that they had left the refuge they had taken for a long time after wandering around the Lord Buddha and had taken the refuge of other people. At that time, Sarvajna opened the mouth of the lotus flower and opened the mouth of the lotus flower in the same way as when he opened a box full of various fragrances, in the spirit of sanctification, which was held continuously during the time of Atmata Kriya. Truly by them who were unable to hide what they had done at that time. Lord, when the Buddha addressed the worshippers and said, O worshippers, there is no one equal to the Buddha in the quality of Sila Samadhi Prajnadi in the infinite scale Sakwala with the end of the Avicchaya and the Bhavagra of the Mata. Be one and be a worshipper. He who was born in the 4 hells and born in the divine world eats the great resources. Therefore, you all are evil like those who take refuge in other people. And Buddhanusmriti Sanghanusmriti is the new place. The road and the ascetic gives the fruit, the righteous path gives the fruit, and the fruitless one gives the fruit. In this way, Lord Siloguru Buddha warned the worshippers in the manner of his hand, and the worshippers took the opposite grip that humans are helpless and fell prey to the devils in the desert where the inhumans lived and came to great destruction. Refuge is refuge, said Vadra, saying that the people who had taken refuge in the desert would not have come to the end of their life. The opposite grip is obvious to us. It has been hidden from us that the destruction of the opposite planets in the path of Papra, which was the Saksharya house in the past, and the unopposed house came to Savapadya. Statement to yourself. Saswamini, Pavikakram and all the good sages, the full moon rose in the sky and invited me to announce and speak about this matter as usual. 505 genes. Then the Buddha said, Sita, for an infinite amount of time, omniscience has been enshrined in order to dispel the doubts of the world's inhabitants throughout the 10 parameters. Prepared like a lion's cell filled with gold, he listens to his ears and awakens the mind of the Buddha. The fact that was hidden from the mind was revealed, said. On the last day, there was a king named Brahmadatta in the city of Kashi, Varanasi, who was ruling the people for 4 years. At that time, our great Bodhisattva, full of rich Bodhisattva, was conceived in a caste of nursing leaders, gradually came of age, and traded 500 gallons. Those Bodhi animals used to go from east to west, sometimes from west to east. At that time there was a son of another nursing leader in Varanasi. That person will not be clever, ignorant or skilled in strategy. The Bodhisattvas took the goods that I felt from the city of Benares and decorated 500 wagons for the journey. Those foolish sons of Sattunayake also packed 500 wagons of goods for the journey. When this foolish son of the Bodhisattvas began to travel 1,000 miles with me, he would not be satisfied. Humans cannot get wood, bread, and bulls can't get grass. Thinking that he and I should go first, the Bodhi animals called that ignorant nurse leader and told us this, who would not accept that we both go together. Did you send it in front of you? Or sent later? They are critics. At that time, thinking like this, he will be very happy when he goes in front of him. By Galsaki Nubit, the carts were pulled slowly and the first oxen plowed the grass. Humans are the first to be harmed by anyone. It is pleasant wine. The same friend thought, I will go first, thinking that I will keep the value and sell the goods. The animals who followed the great Bodhisattvas met at various places along the way. I went through them semi. The bulls that had gone before had matured and were cutting grass. My bullocks eat the sweet light grass that they have refed. The leaves that sprout from the first leaves are sweet to humans. Where there is no first fruit, pits are born. We drink from the pits dug by them. First and foremost, if there is value, human lives are saved. I will go after them and sell the goods at the price set by them, said the great Bossetana, who had seen Inuses and friends, and sent them first. Sattunayaka, who was not wise at that time, said, Good, friend, used a wagon and gradually left the human habitation and came to the mouth of the desert. At first, every wagon stopped and filled with wine and set off on the desert road. After that, when he came to the middle of the desert, a supernatural demon, thinking that he would weaken the bread carrying these human beings and eat everything, created a blackened plain with 2 bulls white from all over the world and brought 10 and 12 inhumans with black, pale, and armed hands. Accompanied, wearing sour, upula flowers, wet isaque and with wet shoes, like a leading man, he went to the front road with a vehicle that was covered with mud. His retinue followed in the presence of the inhumans, wearing wet isaques and wet clothes, wearing sour upula flowers, carrying golden PM spears and PM hammers, eating telumbala and nimbu dali, pouring drops of milk and mud. The saint leader who came before the devil was also removed by his plane. Books of 500 Acts. Inferior genetics. Leaving the rest of the wagons, they stood side by side and said to the devil, Akali came from the city of Varanasi, wearing flowers of all kinds, and with hands covered with gold. Eating lotuses and lotus leaves, smearing mud all over the body and washing the swamp with dewdrops. Where does it come from? Asking if the rain on your way is covered with sour flowers, etc. The devil heard his voice, Friend, what will you say? The blue forest line is visible. From there, all the wild people jumped around. It is rainy summer. The water flows over the mountains. The people of the wagons, which were going in order, said that there would be lakes and ponds surrounded by pumice, and the men opened the wagons and asked where they went. At that time, those people said that they were afraid of the Asawal colony. He asked, What kind of stuff is this? Asawal said it was a load. The wagons that come later are very heavy. He asked what goods were in those wagons. He said he was full of wine. It is very good that you brought the wine here first. From now on, your running will be of no use. There are many pans ahead. After breaking the pencils and drinking, he said, send the father away in peace. Saying this, he went a little way and went to his devil's place. That foolish nursing leader also took the devil's bus because he was not wise. There was not even a small dose in front of him. The people were exhausted without getting any wine until evening and went to the wagon ring and tied the oxen to the cart. There is no place for the servants to drink, nor for the people to cook rice. The people, who were suffocated without drinking, began to lie down and sleep here and there. In the middle of the night, the demons came out of the devil's den and killed animals and humans and ate the meat and kept only the bones. Thus, because of that unwise nursing leader, all the creatures came to destruction. Hand bones etc. were scattered one by one. 500 wagons were full of goods. The great Bodhi beings and the wise nursing leaders, after 1 month passed, 500 wagons were loaded with goods and gradually left the city and came to the mouth of the barren desert where there was no food. The great bodhisattvas who had thus arrived there filled the big bowls with wine, took a lot of wine, called themselves in the people who were dying, made a camp, set drums in their place, gathered the people and said, I didn't open a bottle of coffee without criticizing it and didn't enjoy it. There are poisonous trees along this path. Therefore, I did not eat any fruit, leaf, flower or fruit that I had not eaten before, and thus they came to the barren desert where the inhumans lived. When that great bodhisattva came to the middle of the desert, that demon stood in front of the bodhisattvas from the very first time. The bodhisattvas knew by seeing him because there are no trees in the desert. The name of this desert is Koket Cherevilu. He has hot eyes. His shadow was not visible. He was the foolish nurse leader who was first visited by Yen Hu. Sulabil Isam Amal Barot 62. And with that, the wine packed in the wagons is steamed and dried. He did not know that my Kali was wise and skilled in strategy. Sanami immediately said to Seha. We all went to Yakshapura, where we saw all the merchants, and we did not see any other pan. When Saya went a little way and saw that his demon had gone, the Bodhisattva said to the animals, Lord, this blue forest line is visible from this man. Since then, it has been the rainy season, wearing sour flowers, carrying bundles of Rajapiyam Molapiyam, carrying a mistletoe with Nesambala and slatted ears, and wearing a red-eyed spray. Therefore, we all took the animal Sandasa Sayogal lightly and immediately fell and said something loud. Vavala Vishini, I have not heard from anyone that those Bodhi beings heard that whispering and stopped the wagons and gathered all the people and we made a pond in this desert road. Those people asked if the desert would be like this. At that time, the Bodhi animals were said to be the humans we saw, but some people said hash hash, and if the rains were frequent, someone asked if the wind was blowing. Lord, he asked if the place would be blown about by Yodhanak. No matter who you are among all of you, there is one who asks if a proper shower is important. No, Lord, he said. He asked if this Sai would be born in Kopan. Does it start to look like an application? Lord said. They asked if anyone saw even a single rain cloud. No, Lord said. He asked where the electricity was coming from. Lord of the Vedas is seen as a fourfold Yoduna. I wonder if any of you have ever known an electric light. He said, No, sir, there is no electricity and light. They asked if someone could hear the sound of the table. Is it possible to hear it starting from the mat, sir? Someone, even one of you, saw an electric light, a roar of rain. They asked whether the doer did not. Saswamini, a thunderous sound was heard. At that time, the sages used to say that these saints are not human beings. They are demons. They are a demon who has weakened the father by damaging the wine she is carrying. The son of the saintly leader who went before him is incapable of strategy. The Ekantanyas are the ones who are crushed and eaten weak by them. If 500 wagons are full of goods, we will see the wagons full of goods. Therefore, they drove the wagons and left without leaving a hole or a hole. The great Bodhi beings saw the wagons full of goods and 500 wagons and bullocks and the limbs of people scattered everywhere. They freed the wagons from the wagon ring and made camp for a while. Hova Tumu took strong chief men and guarded the third night with swords in hand. It was cooked from the moment it was taken. On the second day, all activities were done in the morning.
550 ජාතක වෝල් අපන්නක ජාතකය 63
150 births walled. Apnnaka Jataka. Having provided and fed the bullocks with fodder etc., loaded fish carts, loaded carts with cheap goods, stored expensive goods, Mahabosatano decided to go to trade, sold the goods at a high price, took all the money and came back to his home city. Lord Tiloguru Buddha, who was the creator, passed this story on and on. Thus those who took the previous opposite planet came to great destruction. The sages, who have taken the opposite planet, freed themselves from the hands of humans and went happily to the place they desired, fulfilled their desires and arrived happily at the end of their life. Apnnaka Jataka Kepe. He said this stanza. Here the infallible procedure is to take refuge in the Ratnatra, to protect the 5 virtues and the 10 virtues, to preserve all the pure virtues such as Pratimosha Samvara Shila, Indriya Samvara Shila, Ajiva Parishuddhi Shila, and Pratyasannishhrita Shila. That the 5 moons are afflicted by the chakras. It is known about food. It is the cessation of sleep, the birth of 5-fold meditation. Vidarshan is meditation. The birth of Panchabijna Ashta Samapatti, the birth of the 4 noble path and the 4 noble fruit of Growthpatya, all these are called Apnnaka Patibda. The Nirvanigamya policy is called. It is called Aviruddha Pratipatti to Sarvajna Sasana. The things that are opposed to the Apannaka Pratipada here are the other cults themselves, the conduct of the Dasar Akushala Dhamma, and the practice of the improper Kayavaka Samachara. These opposites are born in the 4 hells in all kinds of wild paths. Moreover, from this principle of non-contradiction, which is the non-contradictory fact, the omniscient ones will attain Samyak Sambodhi Janana with unwavering effort, close to Bodhi Drami throughout the paramitas. The Buddhas on earth are practicing Bodhi knowledge. Disciples who are the sons of the Buddha are anticipating the transcendent wisdom of discipleship. In this way, the blessed Lord Buddha gave those worshippers the 3 skillful resources and the divine Brahman resources. He declared and said, at the end of this Chatursatya sermon, all those 100 worshippers have killed 1,000 defilements and stood on the soven line, where 1,000 nines have been restored. The Lord Buddha delivered this sermon and finished this Apannaka Jataka. At that time, Sattunaika's son who was ignorant is now this Devadatta Sthavira. His first name is Devadatta Parshad. At that time, the Parshad of the wise saintly leader are now Buddhas. At that time, he said to himself, if I am the son of the wise Sattunaike, I am now the king of Tiloguru Samyak Sambudhu.